Hey folks, welcome to Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. I love cabbage, and I'm going to put my cabbage starts in today. Come along, let's see. Alright, well I started my cabbage seedlings on September the 24th, which was about 40 days ago. And those seedlings came up inside my house. I kept them under grow lights and I kept them in a stable environment. I up-potted those seeds on October the 19th, and beginning in the last week of October I began to harden them off so I could bring them outside. Today is November the 4th, it's a Monday, and the weather is really overcast. It's going to be overcast and partly sunny for the rest of the week. That's ideal time for transplanting any plant into your garden, because your sun's not going to be beaten down on these plants that are being hardened off and maybe haven't become totally toughened up, but my plants are ready to go outside. And I need them outside because it's time. I need to get the space freed up for other things. Anyway, so I have my covered bed here. We're going to put some cabbages and some cauliflower in there. And in other places in my garden, I'm going to plug in some of my surplus cabbage, some Chinese cabbage. And yeah, hopefully in a month or two, we'll start looking at some heads forming, maybe through the winter. We'll see. For soil preparation, I've already prepared these beds about a month ago. The beds have lain fallow then since we forked them about 3-4 weeks, but all those little surface weeds have started to come up now. So I'm just going to take my stirrup hoe, it's also called a scuffle hoe, and we're going to go through, and Sam and I are going to knock down these little weeds, and then we'll be ready to plant. Well, my plan is not working out the way I had planned it out in my drawing, my sketch. I'm going to be lacking one row across of green cabbage. Right here you can see these two, actually that one and that one. Those are green cabbages. I had planned on having 3 of them there, but my spacing, I just don't feel like it's gonna handle all that. So I'm only gonna have 2 cabbages that are green there, 2 purples, and then the rest of the bed's going to be cauliflower. So that's how we're going to plant this bed. All right, keep going, a little more. See if that cup will fit down in there. Not quite, almost there. Now we need a little more. We need a little more than just the cup depth, because we're going to put some, yeah, maybe a little bit more, because we're going to put some fertilizer in there. And I'll show you what we're going to do with the fertilizer. Alright, so in each hole, we're going to put about that much, about a handful, maybe that's a tablespoon and a little more, of a basic organic all-around fertilizer. We're going to drop it in there, and then what I want you to do is stir that around with the spade. This will help the plant get established, and will make up for any possible deficiencies we have in there. Stir it and blend it in with the dirt. There you go. Really work it in. Don't just kind of waggle the spade back and forth. Work it in real good. There you go. Now, now you see this plant? This is a typical of my potted up plants. It has this leaf here that's kind of diseased. We're going to pinch that leaf off just like that. And then we're going to squeeze the cup until we can get our cabbage right out of there. And you can see this cabbage really wants to be in there because its roots are bound up. So we're going to loosen these up a little bit with our hand. Just loosen them up a little bit. And then this whole plug will just drop right in there. Alright, so what I want you to do now is take this soil, the looser soil, and just work it around. Gently, now we'll use your hand. So I want to make sure it gets all down in there. And not on the plant. And we're going to bury that plant up to the part where the leaf stems start to bud out. So we're going to, if you'll notice, and I'll show you in just a second, on a cabbage you get this long stem. Okay, kind of press it down in there. Make sure we get it all around. There we go, that's our first cabbage planted.
Alright.
If you'll notice on a cabbage plant, you've got this long stem right here. I don't know if you can see that. But if you grow cabbage, you know what I'm talking about. We want to plant all the way up to this node right here. That one right there. All right, you see where that plant goes? Go ahead and dig that out for me. So again, you want to break up your roots a little bit if they're circling, just to loosen them up, encourage them not to circle anymore. Something like that. That ought to be fine. And then we'll just plop that guy down in there, backfill with the loosest soil you have. And that's that.
Alright. Currently it's just me right here.
Well, that's a cauliflower. This is what we hope to harvest for my daughter coming back. See that last little leaf that you covered up? That bottom leaf?
Yeah.
Pinch that off there, would you? Just pinch it, don't pull. There you go. Awesome. Now pack it down.
More. Squirmy. Where's that trout? There it is. Just stir it around.
Don't pull the cabbage. Squeeze the, there you go. Break up the roots a little bit. Very gently. That's it. Awesome. I think we can drop him right down in there. Okay, so here's the problem with living where you have armadillos. We dug a hole here and it goes way down and the spade just literally sunk into the ground up to my wrist and further.
That is crazy.
Last year, right there where Phoebe is messing with her, where that brick is, we had an armadillo burrow under the garden, under these blocks. And that's the burrow down there. Apparently I didn't get down that deep, but we've broken into the burrow that's down there. And we've got a backfill now. That armadillo, we flushed it out and relocated her, but the den is still down there apparently. Yeah, that goes down there a ways.
That's cool.
All right, we got to deal with this. So much for our no-dig garden, huh? All right, so I think we've caved it in what was left of it sufficiently where it's not going to be a problem. Okay, now we have our whole bed planted now. Finally, this covered bed is planted with cauliflower, 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 purple cabbage, and 2 kinds of green cabbage. These will be covered up, allowed to grow within the cover. That is a 90% sunlight. It lets 90% of the sunlight in. But what I hope it's going to do is to keep the pests off. Cabbage is very attractive to all different kinds of pests, and I want to try to minimize that pest damage, at least in this bed. I'm going to put some cabbage over here, and it will be exposed, and we'll see the difference between this bed with no cover, this bed with a cover. All right, let's water that in. All right, in my open bed, I'm going to plant some Chinese cabbage. This is Hilton. It is a Chinese cabbage that will be future kimchi. These have become stressed by living in too much in this pot, and I'm going to select the strongest plants out of here. Smells good. To select the strongest plant, you want to look for the plant that has the most promise, the most growth, not necessarily the largest plant. This is my largest plant. You can see I've stripped a bit of the leaf off there, and it's got a nice yellow leaf growing there. That's no problem. You just pinch that leaf off. But notice the inside. Really lush growth, healthy growth in there on the inside. That's what you want to look for in a plant, especially a cabbage plant. Some of these outer leaves you can see on the underside has some sun damage. I don't know if you can see that, but there's some sun damage there. So this leaf is compromised. But and this leaf has some sun damage as well that turned yellow and began to crack. But the inside of the plant, that's where the plant grows from, is doing well. We're going to choose the ones that look the strongest from the inside. Now looking at these plants and looking at the width of my bed and knowing the size these plants get, unlike the big green traditional cabbages, I think I can get more across. So I think I can get 9 cabbages in here. I'm going to try it. What we're going to do with these Chinese cabbages is just plant them the same way we did with our other cabbages, right up to the base where the plant splits off and starts leafing out. So we'll dig a hole, put a tablespoon of all-purpose organic fertilizer in the hole, mix it in so we don't burn the roots, drop our plant in and pack in around it with the native soil, water them in real good, and we're done. We're going to loosen up the roots. We're going to drop it right on in the hole. And just build up your soil around the base of that plant until you're right up to the base of that stem. Right, I don't know if you can see it. That stem right there. That's where we want our soil. So again, bury them right up to the stem. I also plugged in some kale plants right here where the cat had done damage to my radish bed. It's always a benefit of having spare plants around, is you can plug them in when you've got some damage in a bare spot. We're going to water these in and get some kale. Okay, now we have some cabbage in the ground. I'm so happy. Man, that makes me so happy. Looking forward to eating some cabbage. I love cabbage, sauteed with sausage, made into kimchi, made into sauerkraut. Cabbage is just an all-around good plant. A lot of people don't like it. I really love it. Well, that's how we're doing it. We're going to put some cabbage in some pots too. I'll make a separate video on that and we'll see how that compares to the in-ground cabbages. So be on the lookout for how to pot cabbages and how to grow them in containers. But for now, we've got our cabbages now planted. Our fall garden is underway in earnest. The whole bed is now occupied and that makes me real happy. Thanks for joining me on Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. Please subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. Like us on Facebook, on Instagram, and we'll see you next time. Happy gardening.